flying grass all the way as well.
Yeah, they're often nicknamed the firehawk too, even though they've got all these different other names. The firehawk one is definitely an historical one because they've actually been seen hunting alongside bushfires, hence the name. So what they actually do is take advantage of the flames because there'll be small mammals or insects that are trying to escape the fire, and that is when the black kite will come along, swoop on in, and snatch that prey straight out of the flame.
Yeah, my personal favourite nickname that they have is the Pirates of the Sky, because out there in the wild, they will swoop down and take food out of the talons of other raptors. But ladies and gentlemen, kickstarting our show this afternoon was Cinder and Brooke, our amazing black cops. You see, from our inland deserts to our coastal waterways, here in Australia, we are home to over 100 different species of waterbird. Now, when our waterbird species here in Australia, you think of some of the largest, like our Australian pelicans, the albatross. However, out of those 100 species of waterbirds that we find here in Australia, it's not that little lizard walking on stage behind me, and certainly isn't Cinder and Brooke flying overhead. He is our little black and white missile of fury, and his name is Monster. He is a crested tern. Now, the interesting fact about our terns is we refer to them as a coastal species of waterbird, right? But believe it or not, our little terns like Monster, they can come from absolutely any direction, but they can even be found upwards of 10 kilometers offshore fishing for their favorite foods like anchovies and sardines. So we're going to play a little game here right now. The first person to find our little crested tern Monster, they definitely win. I'm not going to tell you what you win. You might not be too keen to play the game after that, but we're going to play the game. You think he's in? You think he's in? I don't know where he is, ladies and gentlemen. I think here he is right now, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing you all to Monster, our amazing little tern. Now, believe it or not, he is a bird of prey. That is right, he is considered a bird of prey, just like our kite. However, he's not as scary. While he has an extremely sharp beak on the end of that face, what he uses that for is when he holds it above the water. And like our shade tells you this afternoon, what he will do is he will then dive down into the depths of our water. He can dive up to 1 meter below the surface of the water when he hunts for his favourite foods like anchovies and sardines, all those fatty fish that we wouldn't usually find for, just like this. But he will go right up, dive right down and get that little bit of fish. Now, he is a streamlined species of bird. Now, you may have also seen this species out in the wild where you may notice him have a completely black head. Now, little Monster here, I don't want to offend him, but he's a little boy at the moment. Monster isn't a fully grown man just yet, but when he turns into a fully grown, big, bad, crested tern, that head of his will go completely black, making him a dominant male in the area. Now, as I said, they're a coastal species of bird that's found around our waterways. However, there are records of little crested terns like Monster ending up in the middle of Australia. What on earth is there a waterbird doing in a place where there is absolutely no water? But it is believed that our little birds like Monster, they'll get blown in. Just hang on a second. These passing storms and our cyclones are just, hang on a second. They will blow our waterbirds like Monster just, okay guys, I apologize. What? I doubt it, I will let them know. Monster is very concerned about the clouds coming in overhead. He doesn't fancy a trip to the middle of Australia. He really wants to get back to his house back at house. So I'm going to take him there. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Monster, the crested tern.
Now, in the heat of the day, to the setting of the sun, many of these animals that we've seen, they're what we call diurnal birds, coming about during the daylight hours. But when the sun starts to set, there are so many other species now that bring the night to life. And these are what we call our nocturnal animals of Australia. You see, when it comes to our nocturnal species in our own country, sometimes you don't have to go too far to find some clues that they are around. Whether that's a scuffling in the bushes, behind the rubbish bin, maybe a flash of colour in the tree canopy, maybe a terrifying scream in the middle of the night or droppings on the lawn in the early hours of the morning. Whatever it is, whatever clues that you look for or listen for, there are so many different nocturnal species that are bringing the night to life. And those, what we call our backyard animals as well. Now though, even though he's not a bird, he's definitely one incredible marsupial of our nocturnal wildlife. We're And our tree hollows are becoming so scarce every single day. And even though they do appear dead on the outside, they are certainly bursting with wildlife on the inside. And our marsupials, like our possums, are certainly ones that have adapted so well to us as humans that you may find them in your rooftops, running along your fences, maybe even eating all the vegetables out of your garden. So if we were to help protect our nocturnal species like our possums, which are actually a keystone species in Australia, popping up a nest box in your back garden is one way that we can help support them. But, 70% of our wildlife in Australia is considered to be nocturnal. And some of these critters are quite quirky looking. They may have long legs, big, bug yellow eyes, and they've been given the nickname in Australia as the murder bird. Have you seen it? Where is it? Behind me, isn't it? Oh, there she is. Don't worry, sis. It's Sprout. Sprout is our beautiful little bush stone curlew, and yes, they make that terrifying, eerie, womanly scream call in the middle of the night. But when you get to know them as a species, they are quite the important one, quite the quirky one at that as well. Now you can see those big, long legs. That helps them to wade in maybe shallow waters, getting all the insects and maybe the crustaceans out of shallow water. But their camouflage coat is one that they utilise quite well. You see out and about during the daytime, you'll see them blending in with the landscape, staying nice and still, avoiding predators, maybe sitting on a nest perhaps. But of course, when we turn on the lights at night time, that is when they start to emerge, coming out into the darkness, following the light to get all the insects that they are attracted to. But even though they're a ground-dwelling insectivore, these birds can actually travel up to 40 kilometres per night flying throughout our skies, with their mates, also protecting their family. But we need our quirky curlews around because they do help to eradicate our insect pest species. They do have a lot of threats as well, mainly cargids. But the biggest threat, that's right, I will tell them, the biggest threat that they face is our cats. Our domestic cats, but also our feral cats as well. Every single night, 1 million birds are killed by our cats because they roam around, taking down birds like Sprout, our curlew. So if we keep our cats indoors at night, we can help protect beautiful species like our birds, not just our birds, but our reptiles as well. But of course, out of all the unique animals that do emerge, you create that magical ambience quite like an owl. Now we're so lucky here in Australia because we are home to over 11 different species of owl that cover every state and every territory. And we want to introduce you all to one of the noisy ones. Part of the Ninox family, this is Tui, and she is a barking owl. Now listen closely. You may be able to hear that distinct vocalization.
Yeah, it is that synonymous of a small dog's bark. You'll be able to hear it as she flies around the arena this afternoon. Now, she uses this call to communicate with her mate. She can hear it and respond from over 6 kilometres away, but you do not need to worry. If she can't hear her mate, she will definitely be able to see them.
Yeah, they've got impressive eyes, this species of owl. They're known as the singing owl in Australia, but they can see their prey from kilometres away as well as their mates that they are trying to attract. But on the cards of their prey, what is on the menu?
Well, it can range from so many different things. You see, Tui here can take down big animals, like something as large as a sulphur crescent cockatoo, a naughty small child, or even a brush-tailed possum isn't...
You said it again. Out loud. You don't know what to say.
Sorry. Hang on, I'm just going to clear the air. There are no naughty kids in the arena with us this afternoon, right?
Oh.
There's a couple.
There's no one.
Okay, well, if there are any naughty kids, you guys may want to block your ears, because once you find out how she eats her food, it's pretty gross.
Yeah, you see, they can't take down an entire brush-tailed possum, of course, and fit it in their little tummies. They're only going to eat the most beneficial and nutritious part, which is everything inside the skull. So what she does is pounce on her victim, rip the head off, go through the eye socket, eat the eyeballs, and suck the brains out like spaghetti.
Oh, that was far too.
I don't think anyone's listening to me.
No, we should probably move on to some more key facts about Tui.
Yeah, she does have some pretty cool facts about her as well. Those big bright yellow eyes are certainly one amazing adaptation on a barking owl. So we call them a crepuscular species.
Yeah, however, they aren't just for show and are nice and yellow. They can see both day and night time with these eyes. But unfortunately, that's where their effectiveness ends. They are so large in her skull that she can't even move them from left and right. But you can see what she does. She can rotate her neck 270 degrees.
That's all thanks to the double amount of bones that she has in her neck. In fact, all owls have 14 vertebrae in their neck as opposed to us as humans. Hey! You see, we have 7 bones in our neck, but owls have that extra 7 as well. So 14 in total, allowing her to have that extra flexibility, which means that they cause limited disturbance as they do stalk their prey, sitting up nice and high in the treetops, staying nice and hidden. If these birds, of course, are out during the daylight hours, which is what they tend to do, they need to stay nice and camouflaged. You notice where their feathers come into play. You can actually see she's got those beautiful striations or that pattern on her chest that allow her to mimic the dappled moonlight or even the dappled sunlight when she's out and about during the day. But of course, all these adaptations do allow her to be one formidable hunter here in Australia. Everyone, you just know one of the cutest owls, Tui, the barking owl.
And give it up for Lauren as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a very, very important part of the show where I have to ask you all a few questions. So first things first, are we all having a good time so far?
Yes.
Let's not be that was terrible. That was absolutely shocking. Now, please lie to me if you have to. It'll make you feel a lot better. Are we all having a good time so far? Fantastic. Now, on a little bit more of a serious note, here in Australia, we are one of the most important nations on Earth when it comes to our biodiversity. We are home to more unique species than found anywhere else on the face of our planet. However, due to early European settlement and their determination to cultivate our First Nations land, that led to immense battles between our farmers and then our Australian native wildlife. Now you see no battle larger than between them and our apex predators. But what is an apex predator? That is a species that lives at the top of our food chain. Well, they are there for a reason. They are important to the ecosystem in all of our surrounding landscapes, and Australia's largest, most commanding aerial predator. And of course, none other than one of the most persecuted birds on the face of the entire planet. And I am referring to none other than the West-tailed eagle, who's very poorly timed to go down himself. I will say that. I've set up a staging motion for him. That's him flying around the back right now. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing you all to Brutus. That was completely clean. Introducing you all to Bruce. He's one of 4 West-tailed eagles that lives here at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary. He is a perfect example of an apex predator here in Australia. With a wingspan that's over 2 meters wide, the ability to fly at over 100 kilometers an hour, razor-sharp talons, and the eyesight that allows him to see 8 times more detail than we can. They say that if we had the same eyesight as the West-tailed eagle, we would be able to sit back, relax, and read the fine print of the newspaper from over 3 kilometers away. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the undisputed king of Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary, Brutus, the West-tailed eagle. Now you see our eagles, just like Brutus, they are some of the most powerful and commanding birds of prey that you can find on the face of the entire planet. But unfortunately, like most of our wildlife here in Australia, they've also faced no greater threat than us as humans. Did you know that here in our country, we wrongly accuse our big scary aerial predators of being the sole killer of our Australian livestock? During this time, boundaries are often from dead carcasses of birds just like Brutus. We wiped out over 1 million birds. You can and their species to the edge of extinction. Now, with a little further research, we realised that 70% of their diet is actually made up of invasive species, like rabbits, hares and foxes. In 1968, we decided to make a change. Our wedge-tailed eagles have become a protected species, and today their numbers are fighting back.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how one decision, one change in our way of thinking, and a simple action to stand up for such an iconic wildlife species in Australia can make such a positive difference on their future. And you see, the success story of the wedge-tailed eagle can be the benchmark for all other species in Australia that are still struggling in the environment that they live in. You see, every single day we have the opportunity to make a difference, to make a change. And you see, we're not asking to change an entire species and bring them back from the brink of extinction. Change can be something so small if we all work together. It may be something like putting a nest box up in your back garden, maybe even something so small as picking up your rubbish and putting it in the bin. And if licorice, our yellow-tailed black cockatoo can do it, you and I can also as well. You see, every single day we have the opportunity to make a difference, and we hope that our ambassadors have inspired you in some way to make a change as well. And bridging the gap between us and our wildlife is something that we are passionate about. So I'm going to ask someone to help me out here today, maybe inspire you. I'm going to ask the lovely lady in the front row, do you want to stand up in your place for me? That's you, you're in the front row. Stand up for me. You're going to pop your arm out to the side, nice and straight. Hopefully, you'll be able to meet licorice today, and maybe she may inspire you to make change as well. Hey licorice, the lovely queen in the front row, would you like to say hello? There we go, just give it a pep talk. There we go. What a beautiful moment. Thank you so much. It's moments like these that may stick with you for life, and hopefully keep our skies forever wild and full of colour with the inspiration that you have seen here today. You see, we're known as the land of the parrots in Australia, and of course we can't forget about those species that may colour our Australian sky. There's lots of different species in our country that also need our help, like licorice here, our yellow-tailed black cockatoo, and their species that sit on the threatened species list. So our pink cockatoo as well, part of our Australian bush, but of course we can't forget about our international guests too. Big-bird and willow, our Currumbin macaw and our green macaw, representatives of those species in South America. So consider the choices that you are making every single day, and maybe that one choice you make will be a positive one that will make a big change for the future. So on behalf of myself, the entire Wild Skies team, and of course our feathery friends, thank you so much for joining us here at Wild Skies, and enjoy the rest of your day at Currumbin Sanctuary. Thank you. Now folks, the fun is not over. If you would actually like to help us contribute to our efforts here at the Sanctuary and our conservation mission as well, we're actually going to be hunting one of our big eagles down at Conservation HQ, which is just behind us here across from the train station. For a short time only, you can meet a wedge-tailed eagle and get a professional photograph taken.